All right, we want to welcome you into the 18th episode of Trojan Talk. I'm Zach Duranko here with Jeff Christianberry and Cole Perritz. How you guys doing this morning?
Great.
Good.
Yeah, it's very nice outside here in Saco, Maine. We want to start off with the TA boys hockey team, who did make it to the state championship last week. Unfortunately, lost in double overtime, but we want to do a quick recap of that season. They played really well, had a really good playoff run, and we were able to broadcast some of their games. And we'll start with Jeff. What did you see from the team throughout this season, and what did you see in the semifinals and the state game when they played really well?
Well, we went into the playoffs knowing that Class A hockey was going to be pretty wide open. Everything thought Edward Little was the favorite, and then after that, anybody could win on any given night, and TA hockey showed that. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised that they made such a deep run in the playoffs. I mean, beating Mount Ararat in the first round, but it was a pretty tight round, and then beating Falmouth, which was a great game, and then I didn't get to see the other two games, but obviously upsetting Edward Little, number one seed, is quite impressive considering how the first game went too between those teams. So, I mean, overall, there's nothing but a success. Scarborough also had kind of a Cinderella run, so I think of all the games, they're going to look back at the state championship game, and from all reports, they didn't play so well for a lot of the game. I mean, obviously it went to overtime, so it's not like they got blown out or anything. Very top-heavy team. I thought there was some great players like Alex St. John and Bilodeau that kind of carried the team at sometimes. And in the end, they're going to really miss a lot of those guys next year. So I don't know if this was kind of their best shot for a while. It's tough to look at the hockey landscape year to year. But, I mean, just look at the way that the defense played so well. As you see the scores, only giving up one goal a game until the state championship, and the playoffs is a recipe for a big run. And they had that. So congratulations to them. And it was fun watching them all year, and the games that we did. I mean, the student section was out in full force, and it looked like at the state game there was a ton of people there, which is great for the team and great for the program. So hats off to them. It just comes up a little bit short when you lose in overtime, double overtime especially. It's hard to swallow that, but nothing but respect for them, and a good surprise this year, because going in we thought they'd be decent, but not necessarily state championship team, but they proved us wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good to know that it was a 5 or 7 matchup in the state game, which is not really common. I don't know when Bangor did Scarborough beat Bangor, and then they beat South Portland too. So they had they were I would call the Cinderella team, but it was a good playoffs. Cole, any thoughts?
I mean, first off, congrats to them. They really overachieved in a big way. They went 2-1 against Mount Ararat and then Falmouth, and then a really good win versus Edward Little at the Civic Center, where they were really in control the entire time. But you have to think, I mean, kind of a missed opportunity versus Scarborough, a team they beat 6-0 earlier in the season, and then they beat them again 2-1. It's just crazy. You look at Scarborough's goalie. He was the reason they won that game. He let up 5 goals in their first playoff game, then let up 2, then let up 4 in the semifinals. So you got to think you're going to go into this game scoring multiple goals, and he just plays out of his mind. So credit to him. He was the reason they won. Obviously, if you watch that game, they didn't come out and execute in the first period, which was the biggest reason why they lost. Scarborough scored within the first 4 minutes or so, and the player, their goalie, kept them in control for most of the game. TA gave himself a shot. Evan Beaudet with a goal in the third period, which was awesome, but they couldn't come away with the win. But still a great season to make it that far for the program that hasn't been there since 2012.
Interesting too, as you mentioned, that whole old adage, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a year. We saw it with Thornton Academy beating Falmouth. After Falmouth, they beat them twice, and then you mentioned Scarborough. TA beating Scarborough twice in the regular season. So it's just tough. I mean, even when you win, hockey is such a weird sport like that, because, like I mentioned before, South Portland was one of the favorite teams. We beat them 6-0 like the week before the playoffs started, and it just so happened the goalie had a bad game. So it's so funny how that can go. And Tarek Belanger had a great playoff run as well for TA. So tough to see him. There's a lot of great pictures of him being embraced by some of the Scarborough kids after too, and it's just a tough way to end the season when you lose in overtime like that.
Yeah, I mean, this team, there's a lot of seniors on that team, a lot of great players, and so I think this was their hope to get to the top and then fail is the worst, because you made it that far, and it's overtime too, so it's sudden death. They got right up into it. But
what was it like for those of you who went having the playoff games at the Cross Insurance Arena? Because the last time I've gone, it was obviously the Colisee, which is a pretty cool atmosphere. But what was it like at the Cross Insurance Arena as a fan?
It was good. I mean, I talked to some of the players before, and they said when they went on to play Edward Little, it was like kind of surreal, and then they were like, okay, now like it was different definitely than the Biddeford Ice Arena, but they were just trying to play their normal game. I don't know if the space is different, if it's bigger.
That's probably the same. It's either normal size or Olympic size. It's definitely not Olympic size.
there's a bigger crowd. It's a lot more people, and
way more people there than probably any Maine Mariners game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just saying.
Yeah, it was. But it was a fun atmosphere, and the TA fan section showed up, and so did the Edward Little fan section when I went to that game, and then I know Scarborough did as well. So it was a good run. It was fun.
Yeah, state championship was packed. I mean, the student section went up very high, and I loved it. Before the semifinals, they had the Bruins national anthem singer come out and sing the national anthem.
He was there?
It was pretty cool, yeah.
Jeez, that's nice.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Dang.
So now we want to move on to professional sports. Well, I guess we're going to start with college. March Madness starts today, which I am so excited for March Madness. I'll give you my Final Four. I have Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, and Iowa. And then advancing to the championship, I have Kentucky and Iowa, and I think Kentucky will win. I just think Kentucky has a great combination of guards, and then they have the best big man in the country in Oscar Tshiebwe. And what's your Final Four? Do you have any predictions and any Cinderella teams that you think could make a run?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot give you my Final Four because I have 23 brackets at this moment. So I still have
23.
I still have to get 2 more in before the first game's at noon.
Noon,
So,
noonish.
I think the one thing I was thinking about when making my brackets this year was so many upsets in what we call the regular season that I would expect it to be actually pretty moderate here in the regular playoffs. I have Gonzaga winning in most of my brackets. I have Kansas. I have Iowa a few times. I definitely think some of those teams will be really good. There's definitely going to be some earlier upsets, especially today. Some teams who I think haven't played very well, but it's going to be exciting, and it's always fun to sit and watch those games. My Cinderella team this year is probably going to be, oh my Lord, either Vermont or New Mexico State because they're playing UConn and Arkansas, and those 2 teams I don't have any confidence in. And so I think they could get pretty far.
Cue up Arkansas going to the Final Four, we'll play this back in a few weeks.
Yeah. But it'll be fun, and I always love March Madness because it's not just like a couple days. It's like it goes on for a little while, so it's fun to watch.
I have Vermont going to the Sweet 16, so I have them winning a couple games.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can come through more for me. What about you?
So I'm going to be that guy. I haven't even filled out a bracket yet.
Oh, come on.
You have until noon.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
As the years go on, and I'm a lot older than you all, I can't get into college basketball. I mean, March Madness, I'll watch the games. But I used to watch I'm a Duke fan, so I'm gonna pick Duke to win it all, even though I don't think they have any chance because they're obviously the last couple weeks, even though it's Coach K's last year. I tell you this, and this goes into a bigger issue. Like the only reason college basketball is even close to popular anywhere is because of March Madness. Because I blame the one and done. The one and done has ruined college basketball because the quality of play is so bad, and the only reason March Madness is so popular is because the games are crazy because these kids don't know what they're doing, and you have huge chokes at the end of the game. That's why you saw a couple years ago when UMBC beat Virginia. It's like that would never happen back in the 90s or early 2000s because all these teams now are made up of guys who were playing high school basketball 8 months before. So on that front, like for this year, like the last time I really followed, like when Zion was at Duke, like, okay, I followed him. He was like a once-in-a-generation player to watch. I couldn't even name one college basketball player. Not one player this year.
This year?
No. Not one.
Name me one right now.
I can't. I literally cannot on any team.
I don't know who Chet Holmgren is?
Never heard that name before in my life.
No?
No.
Come on.
No, I'm not saying that's normal.
Hater.
Like I'm not a. I don't say I don't know. I just can't watch. I can't watch the games. Now, will I have them on my office? Of course. Like March Madness is crazy, and maybe I'll fill out some random bracket. But I've been burned too many times in the past where I'm like teams like Texas A&M and all these guys that I think are going to make that are like the 4 or 5 seed, and I think make the run to the Final Four and they never made it. So I'll fill out a bracket. Am I excited for the tournament? Meh. I think for me the tournament is all about today and tomorrow on Thursday and Friday.
Oh yeah.
Those are the days where it's important. And besides when you cheer for your team, like I'll watch every Duke game, obviously. But after that, I mean, it's just for me, it's like whatever. But the first 2 days are crazy because there's 4 games going on at once, and you're looking back and forth, and 3 or 4 TVs set up in one room and everything. So as far as Cinderella, like anybody but Vermont, because I have a bad experience because I went to BU and we had some great basketball teams back in the early 2000s, and Vermont had they had a couple generational players. A guy named Taylor Coppenrath who went to the NBA, and they ruined our season one year, and then they beat Syracuse. They upset Syracuse in the first round. It was like a 14 seed, and I remember just me being I hated them. So I hate Vermont for many reasons. But good luck to them.
Yeah, I want to talk about Gonzaga. They're my most hesitant team to put in the Final Four, actually, because I feel like they're gonna get into an Elite Eight matchup with Texas Tech. That's what I think will happen. And last year against Baylor in the national championship, they just got bodied. Like, Baylor was a bigger, more physical team than them. Gonzaga, it's so funny. They play basketball like it's the 1970s. Like, they're such a good passing team and so fundamental and everything, but Baylor just manhandled them last year. And I think that could happen, but I do think in the West bracket, I think talent will probably prevail and they'll get to a Final Four but lose to Kentucky. And I also want to know the champion. Is it a team with a lot of veteran players, a lot of seniors starting and transfers and stuff like that? I know Kentucky has a ton of transfers. I think it will be. Duke, obviously a very talented team, but they're young, and will they run into a veteran group of guys? So should be interesting to see. March Madness, awesome. I agree. These first 2 days are the best days of March Madness. I can't wait. So now switching gears to the NFL, Tom Brady is back. I cannot believe it. There's no reason for him to come back. He has all the money in the world. He's producing a movie, starring in a movie. It's just pure love of the game that he's coming back. But I'm so excited. So what are your thoughts on that? I'll start with you.
I am not surprised he's back. I think it was more probable he was coming back than staying retired because, I mean, look, this is kind of a hot take. I think that most people are going to really dislike Tom Brady in his post-playing career. Okay, so first of all, the movie stuff and all this, like, just go retire, go sit on the beach in Costa Rica and nothing, take nothing away from his playing days. Like, obviously he's the best ever, and I'll never forget that. If he stays in Tampa for another year and they don't win a Super Bowl, like, whatever, I don't really care. If he somehow forces his way to San Francisco, actually, as a Patriots fan, it's going to make me feel better about what happened, because it shows that he's really just ring chasing at this point, because he forced his way out of New England, and I refuse to believe that he wanted to come back 100%, and the Patriots just said no. I will never believe that for a minute. I think he wanted a different challenge. I think he wanted a different lifestyle. His wife wanted a different lifestyle. He wanted more talent. I mean, look at the Patriots are on the downside talent-wise. There's no doubt about that. So then he goes to Tampa. Basically, it's the opposite of Bill Belichick and a coach, where Bruce Arians lets him do whatever he wants. He's basically the GM of the team, the coach of the team. They win a Super Bowl, good for him. And now he's, like, unhappy with that. I mean, you can't keep these guys forever. So if he forces his way out via trade or release and goes to San Francisco and tries to win another ring, it's going to be like, okay, well, maybe it's more Brady that he wants to kind of chase rings now at the end of his career, which if you want to say, okay, fine, okay. It's just so funny to see, I have the bigger perspective, because for the first 10 years of his career, he was this, like, upstart, underdog, like, kind of nerdy, 6th round pick, and now he's not. He is like the elite player. He has elite brands that he's following, and he's changed as a person, and that's fine. That does not change his playing career whatsoever. He's still the best ever, and I love him for that. But I think when he finally does retire and he starts selling us all his gear and these stupid movies that he's going to be in, I think people are going to be like, all right, Tom, just leave it to your playing days. As far as Brady coming back, it's fine, whatever. I don't think Tampa's going to be that good this year. They won't have Antonio Brown. I think Gronk is finally going to go off into the sunset. I know they're trading for Shaq Mason, but their offensive line's kind of a mess. So I think they ran it back for a year. It tried. It failed. But though the only thing is, though, the NFC is obviously not going to be as good as the AFC this year, so maybe they can sneak in there. But welcome back, Tom. I'm not really excited for you.
Zach?
Yeah. I really could care less right now, because of free agency and stuff, and I'm excited to watch the the AFC West, is it, with the Chargers and Broncos and
best division maybe in the history of NFL right now on paper.
Crazy. And I will say, this is all I'll say, is my favorite Tom Brady movie moment was in Ted 2. When they snuck into his house. That was, like, the only part of a movie I've ever enjoyed with Tom Brady in it. And so,
I think in general too, the quarterback situation around the league, it's interesting because it's not going to have as much movement as people thought. I mean, Deshaun Watson's really going to be the only big player that moves. I know Russell Wilson did too, but Aaron Rodgers is going to stay put. Brady's coming back, so you're not going to see as much movement as people thought.
Yeah, he comes into a division that's really bad in the NFC South.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But the wild card in this is Deshaun Watson, because he is rumored to go to either the Falcons, the Panthers, or the Saints, all in the NFC South. But I don't know. It's still a long ways away.
I think it ends up in ATL.
Really?
I think Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta
I
makes the
could
most
see
sense.
So what do they do with Matt Ryan now?
Oh, they'll get him. They'll get rid of him for a 4th or 5th round pick somewhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, Matt Ryan should go to somewhere like Pittsburgh. I mean, if they traded,
They already have the
Trubisky, yeah, but
the
they're paying him,
MVP.
yeah, but I mean, I just think Watson going to Pittsburgh, or going to Atlanta. I mean, I just think I think it just fits well there. It's not as big media pressure as New Orleans is not that, or Carolina either. But instead of going to a place like Boston or New York, I mean, just it's going to be interesting to see because he's cleared of his charges, but what's going to be the reaction of the fans? I don't know. I think ATL is a good place for him to go, and they have a good owner there, and a young team, I guess, but. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, should be interesting. He's a top 5 quarterback in my opinion. People are forgetting how good he is. He's so talented. Led the league in passing yards on the Texans when your receivers are like Brandon Cooks and Danny Amendola. I mean, that's impressive.
Push it that way.
Oh, I'm getting moved. All right.
Don't want to block Zach's beautiful view here.
I know. Right? I like my Maine Mariners.
Yeah, you got the St. Patrick's Day going on today.
Yeah,
at least one of us did.
So if we're talking about the Bucks, I agree. I don't think the Bucks will make it back to the Super Bowl. Chris Godwin coming off of a torn ACL. Obviously, Antonio Brown's gone. Ali Marpet retired. Alex Kappa moved on to the Bengals to protect Joe Burrow. So they have some holes to fill, and I think Gronk might burn out this season. This is probably his last season along with Tom. So I want to quickly talk about the Celtics, who destroyed my Warriors last night.
Yeah.
Which I'm not happy about. The Warriors are terrible right now. I'm a Warriors fan, but I honestly think they might be a first-round exit. I have no faith in them at all. And so what do you think about the Celtics and specifically Jason Tatum making his way maybe to the fringe of the MVP conversation? Do you think that's legit?
I think yes, because I went to his 54-point game versus the Nets, and they didn't, to me at least, they didn't utilize Derek White. They didn't utilize Tice. They didn't, and really anybody off their bench. And they won that game. They dominated the Nets. I think the Nets are great, and they played everyone but Ben Simmons. So I think this is a great team. I think Tatum is playing like an MVP. Do I think he's an MVP? No, they're not going to give it to him. They're going to give it to LeBron James because that's what the NBA is. It's, I mean, like every day I see something new. Oh, LeBron James hit 30,000 points, 10K rebounds and 10,500 assists.
Yeah.
Like they just want to give him more. I don't know. It's crazy, but that win versus the Warriors last night was amazing. Although, is Steph Curry, is he hurt now?
Yeah, and I want to talk about that play because Steve Kerr had an issue with Marcus Smart diving at Curry. I disagree with Steve Kerr. He was diving for the ball.
Yeah.
That's Marcus Smart. He's a tough, gritty player. And Draymond Green even disagreed with Steve Kerr after the game in his press conference. He said that was a play he expected Marcus Smart to make. I don't understand why Steve Kerr is so mad, but hopefully Steph is okay. What do you think?
I think first of all, I think Embiid's the MVP.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, Tatum's getting a conversation. I mean, God, the last month. I mean, there's nothing. Even the Celtics. I'm not a Celtics hater by any means, but the Celtics cautiously I think they're gonna blow it. You got to be impressed with what they've done in the last month. There's no question about it. And for me, it's like the playoffs are where it's at for Tatum, because if he's going to be this superstar that everyone thinks he is. And the thing is, too, is he's super young, yeah, but if you really look, there's other players that are his age or a little bit younger who are also doing some crazy things. So you can't just hold your hat on if they fail this playoffs. Like, well, he's still very young. It's like this is the time where he needs to take that big step. So what's going to happen with them? I think they could make a run. Tatum has been impressive. It's as far as how far they go in the playoffs, it really comes down to the other guys, the other pieces. And I did see that play too. And the reason Steve Kerr is saying that is because he's like you. He's like, my team is choking right now, and if I lose Curry, then we're screwed. And there's only so long that this window for the Warriors is going to be open until they have to replace some of these big time players. So not surprised that Kerr does that. I'm not a huge Steve Kerr fan.
Well, it was supposed to be like the big reunion, right? Because it's in the first 1,000 days that you've had
all three guys,
and they're not playing well. So it's not what you want right now.
I do like what I'm seeing from Jordan Poole and I'm a huge Jonathan Kuminga fan. He's such an athletic player off the bench. He's played really, really well. James Wiseman not looking too great. He's in the G League right now trying to recover from injury, but it's not looking good for the Warriors. I don't have any faith in them, like I just said. I mean,
I will say this, a little G League note. When I was flying back from Mexico the other night, I was on the same flight from Detroit to Maine as the Maine Celtics.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
Didn't recognize any of the guys.
Players?
Oh, yeah, all the players are.
Well, there's only a few that I think are NBA, like Luke Cornett and a couple guys they just signed who are.
I didn't really recognize. I looked at the roster and I didn't really recognize anybody, but
you would have recognized Taco Fall if he was still there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I went to a game about a month ago. They played against LiAngelo Ball. So
Yeah.
he was terrible though. He bricked every shot. Yeah, he was not good. But when it comes to MVP, it's really exciting between Jokic and Embiid, and everybody keeps waiting for one of them to make a move. They played against each other head to head the other night, and neither really went off. I know. I think the Nuggets won that game, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if neither of them really makes a push to separate themselves, you could see somebody like LeBron or even Tatum sneak in, although I don't think Tatum has much of a chance to actually win it. So the NBA is going to get really, really exciting down the stretch here, see who wins the championship, because in my opinion, it's pretty wide open. So I just want to talk about an open-ended question here. What's a sports record that you think will never be broken, Zach?
It's a hard one. It's definitely going to be Wayne Gretzky's goal count, and I know that Ovechkin just 894, I think, and Ovechkin just got to 700, and I don't even know. He passed Yager, but I look at Ovechkin being 40, 42 now, 41, and he's not going to be able to get to an extra 100 goals, and no one else is anywhere close. I think Gretzky's just got that, and even if he does get there, it's going to be in way more games than it took Gretzky. So. That's my record that it will never be broken because there's just nobody like him.
I think there's two that come to mind. First of all, just going sport by sport, football. I don't know if there's any football NFL ones that couldn't be broken because the way that the game is played nowadays. Mm-hmm. Basketball, I think 100 points is gonna be hard for somebody to get, but I can see it happening. Guys hit 80 once in a great while or 70. So when it really comes to baseball, and the two ones that are the hitting streak, Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak of 56 games, because really no one's come close, more than 40 in decades. But the one that 100% will never be broken, not even close to being touched, is Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak of like 2,400. I mean, you're talking in today's day and age, for someone not to get injured for like 12 years in a row and play every single game and not take any rest days. And there's no chance that'll ever even come close. No one will ever probably hit 500 or 600 in today's day. That's just an incredible, ridiculous stat. It's like it's not even. It should be like the most impressive stat in the history of sports, because just staying healthy for that long in a major sport, even if it's baseball and it's not as contact as the others, is insane. So now, is it as impressive as the hitting streak? No, in terms of the skill, because but I mean, for Cal Ripken, he had to be good enough to get a start every day for how many years that is. So those are some ones. But you look at other sports, and the hockey one, but I mean, hockey guys, these guys play till they're in their mid 40s. So if you get a young kid that starts at 18 and gets 50 goals a year it's not going to be easy. I mean, that's definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
But the consecutive game streak, I can't imagine anybody comes close to that.
I'd say these long-term dynasties where you just win championships every year. John Wooden with UCLA won 10. Bill Russell won 11. Could you imagine living now in the 2020s when someone wins 11 championships in 13 seasons?
No.
Like, people would flee from that sport for a long time.
Boring.
Like, let's say the Milwaukee Bucks, because they won last year. Imagine they won like 10 of the next 12 championships. That would be terrible. That would be so boring.
People win 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 3 even, and people are like, oh, here we go. It's going to be the same, But it's free agency nowadays. There's too much money involved in the games where they'll offer you enough to go somewhere else to do the same thing.
That one's the most impossible to me. That just doesn't seem like it's ever even going to be touched. Like, nobody's going to win, 5. It's just so hard to win a championship in any sport, and with free agency and everything, like you said, it'll just be tough. So that's going to do it for this episode.
One more quick thing I want to put in.
Okay.
We do want to give a shout out to Claire Kiezel, who went to the Nationals, set a Maine state record in her, I forget, was it 800? So congratulations to her. She went on Nationals and finished 10th.
She ran 2 minutes and 18 seconds, I think, which for an 800 is it takes me like 4 minutes to run that. So I just want
to put a shout out there. Congratulations. She's had quite a few accolades this year, and that was a great way to enter indoor track season. I'm sure outdoor track season she'll do some more great stuff before she heads off to the Naval Academy.
All right, happy St. Patrick's Day. We will see you next time for episode 19 of Trojan Talk.